around in front here. I'd like to welcome you to Crossroads Village and Huckleberry Railroad. This facility is owned and operated by Tennessee County Parks. It was opened back in 1976 as our bicentennial project, so this is our 50th year of operation. The village is about doubled in size since its initial opening, and the railroad acquired some new things as well. Now, this particular building that you're in is the wood shop, or coach shop. Its primary function is maintaining the wooden passenger cars. All our passenger cars are mostly wood. Some of the shorter ones have steel frames. The wooden coaches require a tremendous amount of maintenance because unlike a barn or a building, it just sits there. These things are rolling down the track and they're twisting and heaving. Works all the joints loose, and every few years they have to come in here and be caulked and sealed, the roofs coated and so forth, the windows fixed. But every 4 or 5 times they have to be completely torn down. Here's some pictures up here that shows you what these cars are like when they were first brought in. Now, Huckleberry is a 3-foot narrow gauge railroad. The rails are 3 feet apart. Narrow gauge railroads are very common in mountainous areas because they can be built from point A to point B a lot faster than a full-size train. Smaller bridges, smaller tunnels, sharper curves. You can just get there a lot quicker. The downside, of course, is that they just can't carry as much stuff. They're smaller. Huckleberry equipment is about 2/3 the size of most full-size railroad equipment. It's still historic, authentic, real railroad stuff. But in the early days, they didn't have a standard gauge, which is 4 feet 8.5 inches apart. Railroads built whatever size they wanted. And little by little, it's standardized because at first you couldn't change from one railroad to another without changing the cars. And secondly, they didn't carry as much stuff. Now, in the railroads, narrow gauge railroads were mostly built in the mid-1800s. They were the only way in and out of many, many towns, especially out west, even in the east. There was no other access other than the railroad, or maybe a horse. So, by the 1930s, just before World War II, they started building highways into all these places. Excuse me. And suddenly, the narrow gauge railroads had competition. A large truck can carry almost as much as the narrow gauge boxcar. So suddenly they didn't have the game all to themselves anymore, and they weren't very competitive. Then they started going out of business. The ones that served really large operations were mostly standard gauges. They relayed the track size, run full-size trains. The ones that stayed narrow gauge mostly died off. By World War II, the ones that were still surviving had a pretty good time for a few years because they needed more of everything during the war. Excuse me. But right after World War II, they almost all went out of business. Almost all of them were out west in the mountainous areas, as we mentioned. There were a few back east. There was a big narrow gauge operation in central Pennsylvania that hauled coal, the East Broad Top Railroad. We have one of their cars here, our ballast hopper. It was originally a coal hopper, but we used to use for hauling gravel around for maintaining the track. Among other things, they did some trim work for the village. They did the carousel horses here. They rebuilt the gondolas for the Ferris wheel here. Right now, they're building a few bat boxes to put around the village. Hopefully keep the bats happy without going into all the old buildings. Yeah. And they're also in this coach, which they're rebuilding right now. The main part of the coach is in pretty good shape, and the seats were deteriorated. So these are new slats to put on the seats. There's 5 on the bottom and 4 in the back. So each of these clusters you see is one complete seat. They're all harnessed and they need to be shelf.
The actual seats for both benches.
Yes.
Pattern like
No, they'll just stay wooden. The cars are all different depending on what their history was.
I wonder if we're allowed to go up there.
This is coach number 9. We have a number of historic real railroad passenger coaches. Those are the ones that are mostly running on the train today. You can tell them because they're longer than these are. But we didn't have enough passenger capacity for our busy times of year, Halloween and Christmas. We run 14 cars. We have got on about 8 real passenger cars. So we had to build something, so we built a bunch of these. This was an old railroad flat car. It's been rebuilt for the shop here. The entire upper passenger structure was built from scratch right here in the shop. And we have a number of other ones. They're all a little bit different. 2 of them are the ones you rode down here from the village on right now. They're the only 2 we've got that are open air cars. All the others are enclosed for use during the winter months when we run for Christmas and such. Now, this is a good example of the kind of work that's done, repairing the seats, repairing the windows. The end platforms are exposed to the weather, so this part gets badly deteriorated much faster than the rest of the car. But the old Woody coaches are continual maintenance nightmare. About every 3 or 4 years, they have to come in and be tightened up, because if they move down the track and flex, all the joints open up, and water gets in and starts to deteriorate the wood. So all that stuff has to be caulked and sealed and tightened up every 3 years. And about every 3rd time that's done, about every 15 years or so, you have to tear the entire car apart, expose the entire frame, work on the frame and get it tightened up, and then put the siding back on and the roof. So it's a never-ending maintenance nightmare. Steam locomotives are the same way. They're wonderful old things to watch, but they require a lot of work. Here's the cab of our bigger steam locomotive. We have 2 steam locomotives. Number 2, which is running on the train today, is from Alaska Railroad. It was built in 1920 by Baldwin, 38-ton engine. And this is our larger engine. It's a 68-ton engine, almost twice the size. And it's in here for its 15-year overhaul. The federal government mandates that every 15 years you have to tear a steam locomotive all apart. Check the boiler. Mainly you're worried about the boiler, making sure the metal plates on it are thick enough to withstand the tremendous operating pressure inside the locomotive. While you're in there, then of course we got the engine torn apart for that. Take the cab in here, we'll work on it. Again, you can see where things just flex and bust loose, and the joints all have to be tightened up. Occasionally a piece of wood is rotten or has to be replaced completely. This one looks to be fairly solid, but it does need to be tightened up, caulked, and repainted.
So this is a wooden one. I've heard that steel cams.
Yes.
Extremely hot.
Oh yeah, I don't doubt. Yeah, both of our locomotives have wood. Again, that tends to be the oldest, and the later years have to be actually made out of steel. Okay, these are brand new passenger trucks. The trucks under the cars right now are mostly wood construction with some metal parts. These are all metal construction, and unlike the coaches that are in there right now, those are all friction bearings. This is a big brass block with an axle, and the axle rotates. And there are lubrications in it, but still, it's what's called friction bearings. These are roller bearings, two-pin roller bearings. So we're hoping that these will provide lower maintenance for us over the years. There are enough here for 2 complete cars, and they will replace the trucks that are under some of the cars that are in service today. And those trucks will be either rebuilt for future use, or we've got one coach here that's never had trucks under it, probably got it without trucks in the first place.
One question.
Yes.
Are they, did you say there's axles? So which part are they on?
Okay, the axle is a small pickup. The wheel discs are pressed onto the axle.
So this is the axle?
Correct, that's the axle. The bearings are on the outer end of the axle. The wheels are just forced under pressure onto the squeeze down. We'll see how that goes a little bit later.
Oh yeah. Oh wow. God knows the car's on.
Or 6 floor. Tender is done. I think.
So is the tender still all original?
It's largely a reproduction. The entire shell of the tender is rebuilt when we first got it. The water portion of it stays pretty well. The coal bunker portion inside is subject to a lot of corrosion. Coal has a lot of sulfur in it, so when it gets wet, it makes sulfuric acid. It kind of heats itself. This is number 464, our large locomotive. You just saw the cab door, which we normally see right here. Here's the fire door where the fireman shovels coal in through the locomotive. All the engineers controls will be fastened around out here, isn't what's left of it. Right now, it's stripped down.
Where's your injector? Is the injector?
The injectors are not on it at the moment, but they would be up here on either side of the fire door.
Yeah.
Okay, there's three parts to the steam locomotive boiler, more or less, not all boiler. The tubular portion starts at the back with this boxing section, that's the firebox. Actually, that's the outer shell of the boiler. The firebox sits inside that